Well, now's the time for us to talk about platform updates. And drumroll, we're going to be talking about the Verizon purchase of Yahoo. Now, a lot of people are curious about that. We got the comments and questions, and a lot of people signed up for the webinar. Don, what do you think about just kind of the merchants' questions and what they're kind of the general tone, or if you will, with that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, just looking over the questions, I think most of them are, sort of like what you expect. It basically comes down to what does this mean? How does this impact my store? What does this mean going forward with the platform? It's all along that line, and it's totally understandable. This is a big change. This is a big shift. I mean, the Yahoo name is going along with the buyout. Who knows what's going to, if they're going to keep it, change it. They'll probably end up keeping it in some way. But it's a big question, and that's obviously what we're talking about it.
Right. A lot of folks are wondering, is this a good thing? Is this a reason why I need to leave Yahoo? Is there something to look forward to? But I think our big thing here is don't freak out. And we've seen a lot of people freaking out. My phone, my email has been blowing up since this announcement. And that's a good thing. We're happy to take those calls, take those emails. But I've really been trying to reassure people that this is not a reason to freak out. First of all, nothing's going to disappear overnight at the worst case scenario. And there could be some things to actually look forward to depending on your situation with your store, which we'll talk about more here later. But I think the big thing is everybody should breathe, everybody should not freak out, and let's just kind of evaluate all our options. You agree with that, Don?
Yeah, I do. I think, obviously everyone's, a little harried and wondering, but I think there's no reason to basically jump ship or go crazy right now. Let's talk about the details and let's see what's going to be coming.
Tara, why did you use these stock images of people freaking? There's not get a photo of Don freaking out or something.
You could have Photoshop on.
Yeah, I don't like these stock images. All right, let's move on. Getting off subject. All right, let's go ahead. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is how did we get here? I think there's a lot of merchants that are just not sure exactly the history of what's gone on with the Yahoo purchase. Obviously, this is not the first time that a huge company has tried to purchase Yahoo. In 2008, Microsoft offered to buy Yahoo for $44.6 billion. Now, then CEO at the time, Jerry Yang, CEO of Yahoo, refused the deal, didn't want to entertain a counter, and so that thing went down the tubes pretty quick. So that's one thing that happened in 2008. Now, flash forward to today, Verizon has acquired Yahoo for $4.8 billion. So obviously a pretty big decline from the 2008 offer, but we'll look at some other monies that are on the table here in just a second. Now, one of the things that we have learned here, Yahoo is actually merging with AOL. Kate, did you actually use an AOL CD to get online? That's really in the 90s. Yeah. Okay, but AOL. Once a big dog in the e-commerce world, still say, some people say that it's very big with media and all that. We'll talk about media here, is merging with Yahoo. Now this is going to be spearheaded by this lady, Marnie Walden, and she, from what I've read about her, she really is very competent. She has spearheaded a lot of very big initiatives for Verizon. And she seems pretty competent with this. Now, it's worth noting that in 2014, just a couple of years ago, that AOL CEO Tim Armstrong wanted to merge with Yahoo. And I think he saw some synergy there, kind of interesting, kind of foreshadowing to what has happened today. And so it's looking like, this is not confirmed, but it's looking like Marissa Mayer and Tim Armstrong are going to kind of work with, or under, I should say, Marnie to make all this happen. Now, that's not official. That's what the tea leaves are kind of suggesting. But that's kind of the lay of the land on what's happening with these two companies, AOL and Yahoo, under the supervision of Marnie Walden, who worked for Verizon. Let's go on. So one of the things that's very clear is that Verizon has acquired a lot of all of search, mail, media content, and ad tech, and of course YSB, which stands for Yahoo Small Business. So all of that Verizon now owns. Media is a big play here. That's been very obvious through the comments through Verizon head honchos, is that they want to get in the media game and really take it to Google and Facebook. Now, right now, even with this combined situation here, they still lag very far behind Facebook and Google. So the hope is to really become very competitive with what's going on. I mean, Yahoo does bring a lot of media initiatives to the table, and combined with AOL, they're hoping that that really gives them the 1-2 punch to take it to some of their biggest competition. All right, so like I just said, they're really taking it to Facebook and Google. So let's go on. Now, one of the things to remember is that Yahoo retains its interest in China's Alibaba stock. A lot of people think that that was sold. They've retained the Alibaba stock as well as Yahoo Japan, and that's worth over $40 billion. And I've seen some other figures that estimate that a little bit lower, but it's billions. Okay, it's a lot of money. And so what's going to happen is, let's go to the next one. Yahoo is going, that part of Yahoo is going to be renamed. It's a company that's holding on to that stock, and they're going to basically, make moves from that point. And we all know, or a lot of us know on the call, that Yahoo had planned to spin off its Alibaba stake. That didn't happen. We had a lot of things announced last year about the spin-off. There's a lot of hopes that Yahoo Small Business, which is kind of the, I don't know exactly what to call it. It's just not like all the media companies. It's kind of like, I don't know if Redheaded Stepchild is bad to say or not, but it's certainly not a media portion of Yahoo. So they basically took Yahoo Small Business, and we're going to make that the central portion of the spinoff. And I was excited about that. I know a lot of merchants were excited about that, because all of a sudden you had the potential of a lot of money pouring into Yahoo Small Business. Well, that thing didn't work out, and now we're here today. And so that's to me, that's one of the most interesting parts of this. Verizon did not get this. And when you combine, Don, I think it's worth noting, when you combine that estimated $40 billion with the 4.8 that Verizon purchased Yahoo for, it's almost kind of a wash when you look at what the offer was with Microsoft attempting to buy out Yahoo in 2008. What are your thoughts, Don?
Yeah, I think the numbers total up the same. I think obviously how it came about is completely different. But yeah, I think the key thing for people to understand is that we were going to have the spinoff before. Now it's sort of like the reverse of that. Everything in Yahoo got bought out, and the stock and stuff got left behind. The major difference being that Yahoo Abaco Small Business is now going with the purchase to Verizon. So
right.
It's all one big bundle of basically, all this Yahoo, properties. So.
Right. All right, let's go on, Tara. So the big question in everybody's mind is what's going to happen to the platform. There's a lot of people on the call that are not on Yahoo stores. They're on different platforms. But I think this is very interesting just from an e-commerce standpoint because this has been a huge staple in the industry for many, many years. So it's natural for a lot of people to wonder, well, what's going to happen here? Short answer, nobody knows, not yet at least, because there's a lot of just negotiations happening behind closed doors, and so a lot of this will be revealed. Now, yesterday it was revealed that there was a Verizon spokesman that said that it's going to be business as usual for Abaco, which is, of course, the new name for Yahoo stores. And they said it's too early to discuss operational plans. Now, obviously, this is a stalling tactic. They want people to say that no news is good news, and that could be very well true. But Don, when you see the business as usual aspects, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for merchants? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the way I see it is in the last, even before the spinoff, in the last year and a half, Yahoo, Abaco has been making moves to improve the platform. They haven't, honestly, they went years without making, a lot of improvements, and I feel like they got some momentum as they were planning for the spinoff. And I think, at least my take on it right now is they are basically continuing on that same path. They are still planning on updating the platform, adding features, as usual. I have no reason to believe that's different. I mean, the actual takeover, the Verizon buyout is supposed to be actually completed it's next year in Q1, and obviously between now and then there may be discussions as to what will happen and whether we'll get information on that or not, I don't know. But I think right now I don't see any reason to believe that it's not going to continue to expand and the platform isn't going to attempt to continue to add new features and new capabilities. And so I think, at least right now, that's why I'm not panicked, because I don't see anything that's like, oh, there's something major going to happen. And what's going to happen with Verizon, we're going to see, because it's going to depend on what Verizon really wants to do with the platform. There's a lot of ways they could take it, and some of them could be really good. So that's sort of my quick in a nutshell there.
That's good input. And later on, you're going to be talking about what Yahoo's actually rolled out. A lot of people don't know exactly what's happened in the past year. Some do, but we'll leave you to remind them of that here in just a second. One thing to keep in mind is that any merchant, this is my opinion, okay, this is opinion land here, but any merchant expecting huge changes to the platform in the short term is most likely going to be disappointed. And what I mean by that is if you're a merchant that is expecting like a massive technological change on the platform in the short term, that's not going to happen. There's going to be some updates here and there, and Don, like I said, we'll be mentioning some of the things that's already happening. But any kind of big sweeping change is not going to happen in the next few months. I mean, that's just unrealistic. Now, we are talking to merchants right now who do need sweeping technological changes to their Yahoo platform. Whether they can be patient and wait for something else to happen, it's really kind of up to them on that. But there are some that are kind of busting at the seams. Whereas, let's go to the next one. Other merchants, okay, look at the other side of the story, kind of even it out. There are some merchants who have absolutely indicated to me they want to ride it out. And like Don said, the current system, meaning Abaco, they're encouraging merchants to ride it out. They're saying, listen, this could be a very good thing. We do have some cool things happening. They're certainly not being doom and gloom by any means. It's worth noting that there are a lot of really good folks working at Abaco. Don and I know these people. We know their families in some instances, and they're really good people that love merchants, that love the Abaco merchants. They're very dedicated. They're not just corporate shills. They're being very honest about what's going on, and so some merchants are encouraged by that and may ride it out. So I think it really comes down to, if you look at both of these points, it comes down to your unique situation as a merchant, and whether you can, quote, ride it out, or if you've got something that you need to jump on right away. It really kind of depends. Don, first of all, your response to those 2 points, and then I'll let you kind of attack this slide. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it very much comes down to a store-by-store decision. I don't think that the Verizon buyout, at least as we know right now, should not be the deciding factor on a move. What needs to be the deciding factor is, what does your store need? What kind of resources can you put into either staying or moving, because there is resources, risk, and things like this that all can be mitigated but have to be done. And so I think that's the key thing. And obviously, as it even says here, the purchase is expected to close Q1 2017. So for the time being, Abaco, as we'll mention some of the things coming up, is working on adding these new features, adding new capabilities continually. I mean, they've got some changes that are coming out literally tomorrow, and there's some that have just now been rolled out, and so there are continual movement. And so if those things are beneficial to you and that's where you want to be, stick with it. There's no reason right now to say, oh my gosh, I got to jump ship.
Right, and there's nothing that's going to happen until 2017. It's not like it's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to believe that. And obviously, as you mentioned, the small business team, we worked with them for years. We know them, and these are good people, and they really, want to be here for merchants. They want to, help merchants, and I know their hearts. And
Absolutely.
So they are looking to continue to, be there for merchants. So.
Right. Well, let's talk about what we're seeing. There's really three types of merchants that I guess I can speak for you, Don. Let me know if this echoes what you're seeing or not. But at EY Studios, we are seeing merchants going to other platforms, and it's a variety. It's folks moving to Magento or Shopify, BigCommerce. I mean, the typical names that are out there. We're seeing a shift. We're seeing folks looking at other platforms and actually making the leap, moving to other platforms. The second type of merchant are ones that are doubling down. I got a call from one yesterday that said, listen, Eric, I've got so much invested in Abaco, it would be ludicrous for me to leave the platform. So they're really hoping that with the Verizon acquisition, it pumps a lot of money into Abaco or whatever it ends up being named. And, they're really hoping for the best there. So a complete reversal from the first type of merchant. But we are seeing people that are saying, I want to stay. I've got a lot invested. All my employees are trained on Abaco, and it's not a good time to leave. Let's go to the third one. And there are merchants that are kind of in the middle. I mean, there were folks in the studio, folks that called me yesterday here very recently and saying, listen, I'm looking both ways. I'd like to stay. It'll be a pain in the butt for me to have to move, but listen, I got to do what's best for my business, and this uncertainty is killing me. We need to have some kind of control over our destiny, and I may end up moving. So you've got a foot in both worlds. Here, is that fair to say from what we're seeing here at EY Studios?
Definitely, we're seeing really all three almost evenly across the board, because we definitely have the people who have been with Yahoo for years and who are gung-ho stuck to it, but like you said, there's people who are nervous.
Yeah, and the advice that I have, and I'll get to a little bit more of this here in a bit, but you can't make a decision out of fear. You can't make a decision out of anxiety. You've got to be very level-headed on what you end up doing with your business. But Don, when you look at these 3 points, what are you seeing at Your Store Wizards?
I think you're basically seeing the same thing. I think a lot of people that are definitely moving, have either begun the process. But there's always people that are looking. I know merchants that are constantly, asking, what platforms out there, what should I be looking at? It doesn't mean they're all going to move, but I think it's a wise decision. It's always a wise decision to keep your eyes open for your options, and depending on what your business needs, what you can do. Every platform has its strengths and weaknesses, and even Yahoo has things that you can build on Yahoo that you can't do on some of the other hosted platforms, and it's whether you need those or not that makes the difference. And so I think we see all three. It's going to happen, and I think it'll always be to some extent. Obviously, right now with a buyout and when the spinoff was happening, that sort of adds to the mix some. But I think it's wise for any merchant to keep their eyes open, and it's their business, their lifeblood. I can't blame them.
Absolutely, well said. And we'll actually be doing a poll here in just a bit that asks you the question, and these are very confidential results. Not have to worry about that. But where are you with 1, 2, or 3? We want to know here in just a bit, so be thinking about that. Before we get to the poll, Don, update the folks on what's been going on with Abaco. Let's zip through this real quick. What's been going on there?
Well, Abaco has recently, just to give some of the things that they have recently released, they have the single page publish, which came out a couple months ago. We've got the updated search. A lot of people don't know about this, but basically the old search was in an iframe, not controllable. They've released a new version of search that is now completely controllable, so it can be programmed to be responsive, or it can be programmed to look differently. It also has larger images and things like this. They recently just released this scheduled publish to schedule when publishes are going to happen. So you can have them occur regularly, or you can say, I need one that's going to happen tonight. And then a thing that's in the manager right now, a message that actually I believe is launching tomorrow, is this two-step verification for payment info. That has to do with PCI compliance and that type of stuff, security, but it's just a change to know what's happening. So those are all things that have happened real recently. And to sort of roll on into the things that Abaco is working on that should be out, hopefully soon here. I don't have dates on these things. But same domain checkout is big. We've always had that subdomain, the Yahoo domain on checkout, and they're working on getting same domain checkout. which will be great for a lot of tracking scripts and things like this. It's just a good branding thing. Technologically, it helps solve a lot of problems. So they're working on that. They've got new responsive templates that are in the works because their current templates, have now become a little dated. And so I think that's going to be exciting. They've got new registration that's going to be coming. So more than just your standard Facebook and Google, where you're able to actually do registration at your domain. So they have a lot of things that they've rolled out in the past few months, and things that are coming in these hopefully next few months here that are exciting things to see. Some of these things you may say, oh, I've got this other platform, it's got those already, but these are all things that Yahoo is doing a little bit of catch up on some of these things. But I think the exciting part to me is seeing movement, seeing activity, seeing investment in the platform. It gives me good feel for, look at where we're moving again, and seeing some things happen. And so I'm excited about the possibilities.
Yeah, and I think a lot of merchants here, even attending this webinar, may look at that list and say, that is encouraging. I do see what Abaco is doing for the business, see the dedication there. Some merchants may feel differently. They may feel like it's too little, too late. I don't know. So with that said, let's see what the webinar attendees think. And I would encourage you to please only vote if you have an Abaco store or recently had one, depending on your move there. So how are you feeling? Are you looking to move? Are you looking to stay? Are you kind of in between? Let us know through the poll here. Oh, showing up. Okay. Very good. I think just due to confidentiality, we're going to hold these results. We'll probably release these later, but I want to make sure that we maintain confidentiality. Is that okay, Tara?
Yeah,
I just want to make sure, because I know a lot of people are not comfortable showing that, but we may release that privately just for attendees and not publicly. But appreciate the release there. So let's go on to the next one there, Tara. Okay. So listen, here's the big tip, and Don, see if you back me up on that. The main thing I would say is you have to choose your platform. Don't let your platform choose you. What do I mean by that? Well, I see a lot of merchants that are basically retrofitting their business strategy based on what the platform can or cannot do. And so what I tell merchants is, listen, forget about platforms just for a second. Close your eyes if you have to, and think about what you want to do for your business. Then look at the right tool that can help you get there. Now, if that is your current platform, stay on that platform. Don't let anybody just kind of convince you otherwise. But if you are hampered by your platform, it doesn't look like the platform is going to change anytime soon, and you have some big business initiatives that you want to see accomplished, you might want to look elsewhere. That's one of the just business owner to business owner. That's one of the biggest things that I would encourage merchants to think about. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't want to hammer it too much, but yeah, you've got to figure out what do you need, what do you want, and then figure out which platform is going to serve that for you. I mean, I've had too many people that have just gone, oh, I hear this is a great platform, and I moved there, and then it doesn't have what they need because they didn't bother to look ahead. So I think that's very, very critical.
Yeah, just something to think about. And let us know in the comments, guys, what you think, how you're feeling. Again, all of this is very confidential. We're not going to release this to anybody. But I personally would like to know how you're feeling. Don and I would, and because we're doing this webinar for you guys, we want to make sure that you're getting some good advice here, because this is big. This is life and death kind of stuff. You're trying to figure out what to do for your business, and I completely relate to a lot of the angst a lot of you may be feeling right now. But hopefully we've helped you through the topic here of the Verizon acquisition of Yahoo. So let's move on talking about some other platforms, starting with Magento. eWatchStudios does a good bit of Magento work. Now, one of the biggest things is the release of Magento 2, which rolled out around the beginning of the year. seen a pretty big change with Magento 1. Kate, would you like to address some of the topics here in terms of how 2 is somewhat different than 1?
For sure. Magento 2 has made a lot of improvements specifically for the merchants in addition to your customers. They did a complete overhaul of the Magento backend, which has previously been considered kind of cumbersome and not exactly user-friendly. So huge overhaul that way. They've introduced full-page caching to greatly speed up the page load of your Magento site. Not only the basic site, but also your checkout to help.
That's one of the biggest things, right, with the checkout, the customization there.
Yeah, the more seconds that pass, the more conversions you lose, the opportunity.
And also more advanced segmentation. We've seen that for some clients.
Customer segmentation has taken a great leap forward. 2.1 in particular has just released Elasticsearch, moving away from Solr search that has been previously used. Lots more customization there. Definitely more intuitive, more search results.
Yeah, decreased reliance on a lot of third parties
Yes,
that have gone into that. That's one of the biggest things. Now, another one before we forget, let's roll that one, Tara, is the cloud edition. So previously, Magento, you had to go get your own hosting, and you still can, but Magento now offers cloud hosting for its enterprise clients, and we've just recently put a client on that, and you know, that's something that is rolled out here pretty recently, and that's a big move because I think a lot of people are used to hosted solutions, being on a hosted platform, really want that when they go somewhere else. They don't really want to be mindful of having to keep up with the hosting. That's been one of the biggest shifts there. Don, any other comments on Magento, or you want to go right to Shopify?
I think the main thing for me, especially with that cloud, is for people to understand, because Magento has always been very key. It's been very key to have good hosting, and there are good hosts, there's bad hosts, and things like this. And I think the cloud edition, you know, it certainly makes a nice option. The other thing that people need to understand, if they have any history with Magento, this is not Magento Go. Magento Go was something completely different. This is full-blown Magento, but they're just doing the hosting and managing it for you. And I think it makes a great option. And I think with the 2.1 release, it makes all of it makes a lot more. I don't know, you know, a nice option to look at as a platform. I liked the 2, but just I don't know, for some reason I'm always, you know, wary whenever you have a new rollout of a completely new system, and so just having a 2.1 just gives me a better feel.
Right, absolutely. There's been a good bit of updates with that. That's right. So let's go on to Shopify. Don, you want to talk about that, starting with some pricing updates?
Yeah, Shopify's had a lot of changes in the last 6 months. You know, they did have some pricing updates. They dropped their bottom end plan. They changed a little bit of the middle plans, particularly in the number of users that can get in. They did have a price increase on their higher level plans. So you could, if you're still on those plans, I believe you're still all grandfathered. But just, you know, if you're starting to look again, make sure to check your pricing and make sure you understand what's coming with that. They do have some nice things coming up. I don't know if they're even all in this order, but they've got Apple Pay that is coming up soon. That they're going to have basically as soon as Apple Pay becomes available for websites, that will be something that Shopify is already committed to doing and is working with Apple on, which is sort of a nice integration there. Should help with mobile, which would be nice for checkout. They recently added the Facebook Messenger integration, which allows you to do order confirmations and a lot of order communication and other communication with your customers directly through Facebook Messenger, which is a really nice option. And honestly, when I first heard about it, I wasn't totally sold on it, but I've seen it in integration and see it in place. And it actually is a pretty nice choice. And then lastly on this slide is basically they're still looking for profitability. They're still looking bad. Their plan is still in growth. Statistics I've seen says maybe in 2017, but it may be beyond 2017 when they actually get profitable. And the only reason I bring that up is not because, oh, they're going to go out of business or anything like that. That's not anywhere near the case. It's so that people understand that there's still going to be changes. I mean, some of the pricing updates happen because they're trying to work towards profitability. They have to see what they can do with that. Does that make sense, Eric?
Very good. That makes great sense. Let's go on to BigCommerce. Go ahead with that, Don.
Yeah, BigCommerce. Yeah, they got some additional funding. They're starting to target a lot of the larger stores. You know, sort of their motivation away from the smaller stores. I think that's also driven by profitability. They're still, you know, waiting to get there, but they're hoping to get there in 2017. They did, you know, roll out, so they've got a new logo, a new look. You can see their, you know, if you've seen it before, their logo and look changed. I don't know that I'm totally fond with it, but, you know, that wasn't my choice. They've also got some new stencil themes. This has to do with the whole new back end of their themes. And so they're actively moving and making inroads. I feel like out of the two, Shopify's got a little more momentum, but BigCommerce is doing a lot, and they're continuing on. So they're certainly a platform to keep an eye on.